Welcome to another edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show, Pub Sports Radio, Tuesday, January 3rd. Ian Cameron, my right-hand man, Conor Mack, will be here momentarily as well, ready to break down the Tuesday card. It is a game. It's a weird slate where we've got all at main board. There's no added board. There's no extra games. There's no, Houston Christian. There's no Dartmouth. There's no little schools to talk about. Bryant. I mean, it's all major conference, high major, as they call them in college basketball teams playing tonight. So with that in mind, let's get to it. We've got a bunch of marquee games on the slate. We'll begin in the Big East. We've got Marquette and St. John's. In Big East action, we've got Marquette 2.5-point road favorites, 158 the total, which has been bet up just a little bit here in this game. I like Marquette. I like the over. I'm through waiting for St. John's to show me they're very capable right now. They have not shown me that here early in the season. Really the same issues. I mean, a lot of times they're just haphazard handling the ball. They've turned it over a bunch. The defense under Mike Anderson here continues to be lackluster at best for St. John's. How the hell did you give up 88 points to Seton Hall in the last game? I get it. You're not a good defensive team. You really haven't been much of the last few years, but just continues to not really get any better for them. Marquette just finds ways to win. The other team doesn't. It's really that simple. They are coming off a huge road win at Villanova, so is there some mild concern that you're in a little bit of a letdown situation here? If you're Marquette after that big win, perhaps, but there's been no evidence of St. John's being able to step up here and put a quality performance together. So I like the Marquette side here. They're only laying 2.5, 3. I like them there as a short road favorite. They're in a short enough price range where I feel comfortable betting them just to win the game. And also the total going up. I agree with that too. 156.5 up to 158. I do think we see points scored in this one. All right, let's go to Ohio and Buffalo now. A little action. Ohio, 1-point road favorites, 156 to 157 being the total in this game. I like Ohio. I think this is kind of like, I'm not a big road favorite kind of guy, but we're talking about 2 games in a row here where basically straight up win situations. I favor Ohio here in this game. I'm not enamored with the way Buffalo's played. I was able to cash a ticket, or actually fell short of cashing a ticket against Michigan State. It was the over that cashed against the Spartans last week. Buffalo lost 89 to 68, but start to look at what we've seen out of Buffalo, not really all that impressive. There's another team that's had trouble at the defensive end of the floor, giving up 77.3 points per game, 44.1 shooting. Not very good. Ohio, they've played some pretty solid basketball. They are a very good offensive team. They're a better defensive team, certainly, than Buffalo is. And when you look at the way they've played, they've been pretty impressive for the most part. Youngstown State, Stetson, Delaware, Charleston Southern victories. The only loss was against Florida, which you would expect that to be the case. So I think Ohio is just better. I'll favor them here to get the win on the road against the Buffalo Bulls. All right, Notre Dame, Boston College. Next up on the slate here, we've got Notre Dame 2.5-point road favorites, 129.5 the total. I think the under might be worth a look here in this game. These are 2 teams that, from an offensive standpoint, I don't really trust them going into this matchup here. Both teams are kind of up and down. I think Notre Dame is slightly better than Boston College, but that isn't saying a whole lot. They've been really all over the map. Notre Dame 8-6. They are 0-1 in true road games this year. Now, this should be an all things created equal, a winnable game. But let's not forget Boston College did notch a big upset win as home underdogs just recently, 70 to 65 over Virginia Tech. Over Virginia Tech. It was a very good win against a good Hokies team. So maybe they are capable, Boston College. I just feel there's way too much, who's going to bring their best to the court tonight? There's just too much of that with both of these teams. There's just no consistency whatsoever. Like I said, neither of these teams have been great offensively lately. Boston College all season has had a problem scoring consistently, barely averaging 64 points per game. The field goal percentage numbers, they're in the 300s, so not very good at all in terms of being able to be trustworthy to score points. But they did beat Virginia Tech. They did it with defense in that game. They're going to have to bring it here tonight. I think the under's the lean. I have no opinion whatsoever on the side. You're not getting enough points, in my opinion, with Boston College. It is worth pointing out, though, 3 head-to-head meetings in a row with these two teams. Boston College has covered all 3, and the only Notre Dame win was a 4-point win at home in overtime last year. In fact, Boston College, the last 2 times they have hosted Notre Dame, they've beaten the Irish, including 73-57 last season. So for that reason, I'd be pushed ever so slightly to lean to Boston College here, plus 2.5, but it's not something I anticipate that I'll be betting here before the opening tip-off. All right, Syracuse and Louisville next up here. Syracuse, 9-point road favorites, 137 the total, pretty much across the board. Syracuse has the potential to win this game by double digits, no doubt. But as we're seeing with Louisville, the power rating has dropped so much with this team that just by default, you're going to start to see them, maybe slipping inside and covering some of these bigger numbers. They were certainly able to do that against Kentucky on Saturday. Actually, if you had 23.5 it was 23.5. So if you had 23.5 with Louisville, you got the cover by the hook. If you had 23, you pushed. But it was 86-63 against Kentucky. They obviously struggled in that game, but still ended up pushing or winning depending on where you got the number. I mean, it's a horrible offensive team. Guard play has been lacking all year. Consistent shooting and scoring has been lacking all year for Louisville. There's no question about that. It's just been a dreadful season. Syracuse should, in theory, win this game by double digits. You look at Louisville at home this year. That is where both of their wins came. But nevertheless, the team I'm really ready to trust here fully in this one. Tough game, because am I ready to lay 9 with Syracuse? No, but I'm still not quite interested in backing Louisville either. So it's a pass for me when it comes to Syracuse and Louisville. And there he is, Conor Mack, now joining us here on the show. Conor, I'll throw the first 4 games that we've done at you here. Marquette, St. John's, Ohio, Buffalo, Notre Dame, BC, Syracuse, Louisville. What are you liking, if anything, in those games?
I have nothing on the Syracuse game, really. Crazy. I need more with Louisville, but I lean that way. I'm totally off there. I like Notre Dame. I know Boston College a little bit better at home, but in the end, I think Notre Dame's the better team. So I'd like with them -2, 2.5. The other one, Marquette, St. John's. St. John's needs a win badly. I know you backed them a few times, but I don't even want them here. This is a desperate win. Are they 0-2 or 0-3 already?
0-3. I am actually on Marquette. I finally flip-flopped. I'm actually on Marquette in that game. I can't trust St. John's anymore.
I lean Marquette. This is big for them, go on the road and cover here. But I took the over. It's already moved a little bit. I think they both get the 80s here. St. John's can't stop anybody. So I got it at 156.5 when it opened. But even at 158, I think can get over. That's it. I think that's all of them, right?
Yeah, that's right. Ohio, okay. Buffalo, you passed, right?
Yeah, I don't want anything. I think Ohio. Buffalo, to me, has been down this year. They are at home here, but I agree with the flip. Ohio, better team in this one, and that game should be up and down with points as well. It could get over.
All right, Nebraska, Michigan State. We've got Michigan State 7-point home favorites, 132, Big Ten action. I'm on a lot of road underdogs here early in conference season tonight. So if it's a bad night for the road underdogs, it's probably a bad night for me. That's the way it's going to end up going. This is one of them here. I'm on Nebraska here. I'm seeing some improvement out of this team. I mean, I know Iowa had that horrible loss against Eastern Illinois, and maybe they were still, just totally shell-shocked from it, how pathetic that was and embarrassing that was. But nevertheless, Nebraska just destroying that team the way they did, I was so impressed. And look, they're playing some defense finally for the first time under Hoiberg. That 66-50 win was a very impressive on the defensive end. I don't trust Michigan State laying points. I just don't. Especially at home. We already saw them lost as 6-point home favorites to Northwestern in their previous Big Ten conference game as home favorites. I think Nebraska can hang in there against the Spartans in this game. And Nebraska's covered 3 straight, by the way, in this head-to-head series against Michigan State. So I'm on the Huskers here, 7.5-point road underdogs. Conor Mack, what do you think?
Big key game for Nebraska on the road. I think they did beat Creighton on the road, and I think they covered someone else. The defense is the difference, I think. I mentioned that Yeah, just if they can do that on the road, I don't know if they win, but they could eke out a cover. Michigan State though here at home, they've shot it well. Michigan State, 26th in the country on three. They haven't turned it over too bad. I'm gonna stay off though. I think Michigan State could cover this one at home, and I've been a big backer in Nebraska. I don't blame you wanting the points, but I'll be off.
All right, there we go. And so definitely lean in Nebraska, but not involved is Conor Mack. All right, we move on here. Next up to South Carolina, Vanderbilt, SEC action here. Vanderbilt, 10-point home favorites, 129 the total. The road underdog theme continues here. I just don't like Vanderbilt laying double digits. I don't trust them at all. Laying double digits. I'm not saying South Carolina is a good basketball team. They're not. I mean, but these are 2 7-6 teams. You could throw these teams into a bucket and find out that there's not much difference, between them, honestly. Yet this line is up there at 10 in this game. And I know I lost for the first time, fading Vanderbilt as favorites with Southeast Louisiana was just dreadful. They got ran out of the gym 93-55.
Yeah.
But still, every time Vanderbilt's played someone different, or someone decent, I should say, they've struggled to win. I mean, they lost to St. Mary's. They lost at VCU. They barely beat Wofford by 3 on this home floor. They beat Pitt by 1 point on this home floor. They have the loss at Grambling to Grambling at home as double-digit favorites. At NC State on a neutral court, they lose 70-66. Alabama A&M, they were 18.5-point favorites. They won by 8. They're not playing good enough as to be double-digit favorites, in my opinion. I know South Carolina hasn't been good, hasn't been great this year. They are, and they beat a couple of weaker Mack teams, or they beat Western Kentucky rather, and they beat Eastern Michigan 74-64. And like neither team is all that great. Western Kentucky, I think, is a little bit down from where they've been in years past. But I'll take 10 points with South Carolina in this kind of game. I think you're asking a lot for Vanderbilt here in a conference game to be laying double digits. And it's worth noting last year, 2 meetings, 72-70 South Carolina, 70-61 South Carolina. I mean, to me, Vandy can't be laying 10 here. So I like the South Carolina side. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think Vandy, they just rolled. You mentioned that game. It's just what it was. Southeast Louisiana kind of been in every game all year. It was just the classic. That's just, it happens. College basketball. And
Just have a
Vandy
dreadful
finally.
night. Yep. Can't
Yeah,
shoot straight.
exactly.
Yep.
I don't love South Carolina. Struggle to score. I lean the points. I haven't bet it. I do like the under in this game as well. If they want to be in this, they just slow it down. And we know Vandy hasn't been an up and down team with pace. So I'm looking at this under 130, 129.5.
Mississippi State and Tennessee. Another double-digit home favorite here, 122.5, 123 the total. And yeah, you guessed it. Guess what I'm on? Yeah, the road underdog. Again, told you, it's a road underdog. If the road underdogs get crushed tonight, I'm getting crushed. Simple as that. But I like Mississippi State here, plus 10 in this game tonight. Tennessee laying double digits. I don't trust them. I find they go in scoring droughts sometimes. They only scored 63 against Ole Miss on the road in their last game and failed to cover 7.5-point favorites. They're not covering bigger numbers. You look at it, USC, they didn't cover, and better teams, I should say. Maryland, 5.5-point favorites. They won by 3. I mentioned the Ole Miss game, 63-59. They didn't cover in that one. Obviously, Mississippi State, couple of disappointing performances in a row against Drake and Alabama. They lose straight up in ATS in both of those games. The offense really struggled to score and shoot the basketball. But Chris Jans is a good coach. I trust him here, to have his team bounce back, ready to bounce back, ready to play better. You look at them on the road, believe it or not, this year. They actually are a team I think you can trust on the road. A lot of their road, and they're 4-1 straight up in road and neutral environments this year combined. They've actually played better on the road and on neutral courts than they have on their home floor this year, Mississippi State. And, of course, they started the season strong. Again, they've hit a little bump in the road here the last 2 games. But I think they're going to show up tonight, and I think they give Tennessee a game. And they don't even have to take this down to the wire. Just be relatively competitive. Just hang around. Use that defense. Chris Jans is a quality coach. I actually think more of him as a coach than Rick Barnes, to be quite honest with you. Rick Barnes can recruit, but he can't X and O like some of these coaches. So I like Mississippi State here. What do you think, Conor?
Can Mississippi State score? They might not have to. This line's moved up a little bit. I was really wanting 124. I'm surprised. I guess it just opened so low. Tennessee, though, you mentioned the drought. So good. They are good at home, though. Tennessee is. We always rip on them late, as they probably won't get anything done in the tournament with Rick Barnes, as I bash him every year. But at home, I don't want to lay points with him. Not right here, not now. I'd still lean under. Mississippi State's been great to the under, 6-1 the last 7 on the road. We know Tennessee plays great defense at home. Their games go under. You just got to deal with this low total. That's all.
All right, we got LSU, Kentucky, SEC action. Kentucky, 10.5 point home favorites, 137 the total. Now, this is again this is not a road underdog, I bet. This is actually just a lean to the road underdog. I have not bet LSU, and I don't think I'm going to bet LSU. But if I had to bet this game, I would lean LSU a little bit. The problem is this is the first true road game of the season for LSU. They have not been in this kind of environment yet this season. That being said, last year, a 5-point game for Kentucky, and LSU won on their home floor, and LSU covered twice against Kentucky last year. I don't think LSU is as good necessarily this year, though. Defensively, they've been okay. Offensively, they'll have one good game. They light it up. But really, they have not lit it up other than Winthrop, which is not saying a whole lot. I mean, NC Central, they struggled to score. ETSU, it was a struggle. Their last game against Arkansas, they got the job done. It was actually a nice win, 60-57, but it was more so the defense getting it done for LSU in that game. I look at these two teams. I think this is Kentucky, I think, is a decent amount better than LSU, but at the same time, series history points LSU. It's a lot of points, but I don't trust it quite as much here with the Tigers tonight. This is their first true road game. They have not had this kind of situation yet. Away from home, they've played Wake and they've played Kansas State. They were pretty solid in those two games on neutral courts. Nothing like this, though, in terms of having to go to a place like Rupp Arena, true road environment. And when you look at LSU as well, thing that would concern me a little bit about them going into this game is the fact that Kentucky, in terms of their 3-point percentage on offense, they can really stroke it. That could be a little bit of a troubling thing for them. And we'll see. And the rebounding, too.
Rebounding, yeah.
Kentucky really, really good in terms of some size, some length to get loose balls on the glass, and LSU not so much. I'd still lean LSU, but not going to get involved. What do you think, Conor?
That's what I was going to bring up. They could get pounded in the glass was a worry, and the road game here, true road game for LSU. But they've been favorite kind of all year long. And Kentucky, though, this team can't cover anything. I think they push basically on the weekend at 23 with Louisville. There's no way Kentucky should be laying points. And like I said, I'm going to wait on this team with the talent. Maybe jump on them if they get hot, but I think you take LSU or you stay off, and I'm leaning to taking the points here.
All right, leaning to taking the points here as well. All right, we move on to Seton Hall, Creighton in the Big East. Creighton 8.5 point home favorites, 135.5 the total in this game. Creighton, what a wild season! Great start to the year, red hot. They go into that swoon where they lose 6 games in a row, and since then now they've won 2 in a row, coinciding though with the return of Ryan Kalkbrenner. I mean, he's made all the difference in the world for the Creighton Blue Jays. And now you put him on the floor inside to go with the Baylor Shireman, Trey Alexander, and the great point guard Ryan Nembhard. With that trio, it's a good Creighton basketball team now. Seton Hall's just I don't know what to make of them. On the road at Xavier, they were 8-point dogs. They lose by 3, and then they get absolutely wiped out by Marquette in their other road games, 7-point dogs, 83-69. They lose as 7-point dogs at Marquette. Hard to make heads or tails. Now, they gave Creighton fits last year. Seton Hall beat them twice. I think Seton Hall was a lot better last year, though, than this year's group. It's still a work in progress. They are coming off a blowout win against St. John's, 88-66. I do kind of worry Creighton is kind of rounding into form again now that they got their big guy back. I'd lean a little to the favorite, but not going to lay 8.5. So that's all I got here. What do you think, Conor?
Creighton, I think, wins this one. It's just, do you want to lay the 8.5? It's just stretching it now, almost a double figures for them to win. I lean under in this game as well. If Seton Hall wants to be in it, they got to keep this control Creighton. And the swings of Creighton, I know Kalkbrenner was out. They lost a few with him in. Then he was out with a mono or whatever. The whole team was kind of sick. Now they've bounced back. They are better at home. So I'm going to be off this one in the end. You mentioned Seton Hall, though, good on the road, whether it was sneaking that win with Rutgers. They just got to muck this up. So If they can do that, they'll be in it and cover. And like I said, lean under.
All right, we move along here. Virginia, Pittsburgh, ACC. Virginia 6.5-point road favorites, 127. I'm on Pitt. I'm not screwing around this time. I'm pissed like you would not believe that I did not bet them on Friday against North Carolina. I outsmarted myself, and I got cold feet. Didn't know if Hughley was going to play. And I said, I'm not going to bet them. And sure enough, they beat North Carolina outright at home as home underdogs in that game. Very impressive by Pitt. They're on a roll. They're on fire. And I know Virginia and that defense and that pack line can really grate at you and wear you down. And sometimes you battle, you compete, you're in the game, and then Virginia just pulls away late. That's very possible here. Virginia's playing well, 10-2. They routed Georgia Tech 74-56 on the weekend, but look, Pittsburgh's covered 9 straight, 8-1 straight up during that span. And they do have some solid wins. They beat Syracuse on the road, NC State on the road. North Carolina was starting to play better, and then they beat them at home. You just have to bet Pitt at this point. Exactly right, Justin. Don't fight it. This team is undervalued. They've come together as a group. They're playing well at both ends. And, this could be actually one of the better environments and atmospheres we've seen at Peterson Event Center. The North Carolina game, there was a decent turnout. I think there's really going to be a good turnout here. Tuesday night, Virginia, national champion one time in recent years, coming in. I think Pitt brings you a good game here. I like them plus 6.5. How can you not? I mean, I'm not missing out on the chance to bet them like I did on Friday. I've been riding this team, and for some reason I didn't on Friday, and I paid the price for it. Not making that mistake tonight. Conor, what do you think?
Yeah, Pitt, could get rolling, shooting it. I think they're in this one. And last year they got it together. The second half of the season, they played Virginia well the last couple of years. Whether they've had a couple outright wins, even the loss last year they covered by 5 in one of them and won the other one. Yeah, I've been on them too. The last 4 straight in North Carolina. I'll have them again here. Might not be massive, and I'll take some money line as well. Virginia better, but not easy here. Go on the road unless they're on all cylinders, which they can, and cover this number.
Yeah, and Jamarius Burton and Blake Hinson have stepped up big time lately, playing great.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, The rebounding has improved. The defense has improved. And look, Jeff Capel deserves – I've given him a lot of shit, Jeff Capel, since he's been at Pitt. But he's
it's been a little while there. Real quick, it's been up and down for him. You're right, sure.
No doubt. But there's something cooking now with Pitt Panthers basketball. And look, like I say, Virginia, I still get concerned about their offensive droughts. I know they can be stingy defensively, but Jaden Gardner, Armand Franklin are good. But sometimes Kihei Clark, he'll give you the assists, he'll facilitate, and then he'll just do nothing in terms of scoring. And then he'll have some games like he had against Georgia Tech where he gives you 15 points. You don't know what Kihei Clark's going to give you every single night. So, but I like Pitt here, plus 6.5 in this one. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Big Ten. We've got Wisconsin 12.5-point home favorites. Cole Center, Madison, Wisconsin, 123.5 the total in this game. This is the time. I think this could be the time anyway. I shouldn't say for sure. There's a bad basketball team. But I think this could be the time to just maybe buy low on Minnesota. And I have done that here. I've taken them with the points. Look, I know this is going to be one of the worst teams in the Big Ten this year. Certainly on paper they should. But you can't sugarcoat or look past what we've seen head-to-head since 2020. Minnesota's 4-1 against the spread head-to-head against Wisconsin. They've covered 4 of the last 5. You had a 6-point game and a 1-point game in the 2 head-to-head games last year with these two teams. I don't trust Wisconsin's offense to cover double digits in a conference game. It's really that simple. Look at last time out at Western Michigan, 76-66. They didn't sniff a point spread cover there as 20-point favorites in that game. Sometimes they get Crawl and they get Hepburn stepping up, but many nights it's Tyler Wall, and you wonder if anybody else is going to do something offensively for Wisconsin. And I don't think either their defensive game has been as consistent as it's been in the past. Like their field goal percentage numbers are usually, top 100. Their field goal percentage defense right now is 130 in the country. That's a little worse than it typically is for the Badgers. I'm going to take the ugly dog and buy low on Minnesota. They got their ass handed to them. They had a horrible non-conference, But series history tells you they play Wisconsin tough. It's a bit of a rivalry situation here. Football, it's certainly a big rivalry, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Paul Bunyan's axe, they always call it every year when the Badgers and the Gophers play. So I just don't like this Wisconsin offense enough to say, yeah, let's lay 12, 12 and a half with them. No, thank you. I'll take a shot here with Mini, the Gophers plus the points. What do you think here, C-Mac?
This is the key when you go through all the numbers going through this game today. Wisconsin has trouble scoring. We know they're good defensively, and the numbers show it when you go through on that. The only flip side with Minnesota, they got to just get in the rock fight here. And just that's why under. Even at 124, 123 and a half, look under here. Minnesota's still 345 in the country scoring. They struggle. Free throws are bad, 361, 58%. Man, if they can knock down some of those, they might be in it. So I lean the points. It's rough, but I just still look under in this one in the end.
All right, next up, we continue along. We've got Ole Miss, Alabama. Down to the SEC we go for this one. Alabama, 12-point home favorites, 147.5 the total in this game. Another consideration here for the road underdog, but this one I'm a little bit more hesitant on as far as Ole Miss is concerned. They are coming off a 4-point home loss against Tennessee. Alabama has rolled this team, and that is the biggest difference, I think, when you look at this game compared to some of the others. Alabama's actually gone 5-0 straight up, 5-0 against the spread head-to-head. And Kermit Davis versus Nate Oates, basically they've been the same coaches here the last 2-3 seasons. It's been all Nate Oates and Alabama here going into this game. You've got Alabama that's coming off a solid road win against Mississippi State, 78 to 67. The loss against Gonzaga, and other than that, and UConn, and other than two good losses, if you will, no shame in losing to those teams. Other than that, they've been very good for the most part. Alabama, they beat Ole Miss last year, 97-83, 82 to 64. I like the balance you get. Obviously, scoring-wise, they're shooting the three a little bit better this year. They had 4 players in double figures in their last game. Sears, Brandon Miller, Noah Clowney, Nick Pringle, Mark Sears. They were all excellent. If they're getting that kind of balance, Ole Miss really has trouble putting the biscuit in the basket, and they may not be able to match Alabama point-wise in this game. So I'm passing on this game side-wise, total-wise. I think it's tough to get involved either way. What do you think here, C-Mac? Ole Miss, Bama.
This was a pass for me here. I think Bama, you can lay it with them. I always don't feel great doing that. I just, at times, I don't know, if it comes down to free throws and all that stuff, but they have beat them up in the past, Bama here, in the last few years. And I'd look, this total's high. I'd still look over. They've gotten there the last few times. So I'm going to be off, though. I don't want anything to do with it. Lean Bama if I had to. I'd lay it.
All right, we got Kansas State and Texas. Next up here, Texas, 8.5, 9-point home favorites, 136 the total in this one. Fascinating matchup. You've got Texas, obviously 12-1. They haven't shown I guess against Oklahoma, though, they didn't play a great game necessarily in that one. We saw basically that team kind of struggle a little bit to get past Oklahoma, 1-point win. It was a battle for them. They've played a couple of games since Chris Beard, of course, had his incident. There's definitely a talent gap with these two teams, but man, you just can't sell, Kansas State short. They've been much better than I thought coming into the year. They've had some decent victories. They had a great win against West Virginia in overtime over the weekend. That was at home. We do have to remember they're 1-1 in true road games this year, and one of them was ugly. They lost at Butler by 12. That being said, I understand why they're betting Kansas State here. There's a lot of issues, a lot of moving parts with Texas. And suddenly, actually, since Beard has been gone, defensively, they haven't been nearly as good. And certainly, they're trending over the total as well. 5 straight meetings have gone over the total. Total's going down. I don't know if I'd agree with that. I might look at
going down. They're betting the over, too. The number's going down.
Yeah, that's the funny thing, too. They're betting the over, but it's going down. It went, it's funny. It went down early, and I should say it's gone back up because it went down to 134.5 this morning, and it's gone back up to 136 since then. But I think I like this game over the total. I'd actually have a small bet on the dog as well, K-State. What do you think here, C-Mac?
K-State had, a lot better that 10.5. This has come down pretty quick, 8.5. There's a few 9s. you mentioned it. It's just the conference game. I think that's what they're feeling out. They bring this down, and now maybe it might trickle back up, like you mentioned. But both teams have been playing to the over this year. You mentioned, I don't know what to make of Texas. I don't want to lay points right now with the Beard situation, like you mentioned. Still a good team at home, but I'll pass here in the end.
Yeah, we do have to rectify that, Nuke Worker. Hit that like button. 156 live viewers. Let's go. Hit that like button. We appreciate it. Let's go. We're back now. This is our first show of the week here, so make sure you hit that like button. And I don't think we're going to have many more days where we're taking the day off, because we're going to have the game schedule is going to be pretty consistent now from here on out, now that we're past New Year's Day. So we're going to be here Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, and we'll be, of course, with you Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific for the Pub Hub. So 6 days a week, college basketball coverage right here on Pub Sports Radio. So if you like it and you enjoy it, hit that like button. We appreciate it. All right, we got 2 games left on the marquee games. Kansas, Texas Tech. Kansas, 2-point. Actually, now it's down to 1.5. Holy, and ones are starting to show up here. 141 the total in this game. Look, Kansas again, on the road. I took Iowa State over the weekend, and Iowa State, able to get the that's the Baylor game. Sorry, I'm thinking Baylor, Iowa State. Kansas got the win against Oklahoma State, 69-67 over the weekend. Barely won, barely survived. They were 10-point home favorites in that game, but barely got out of there with the victory in that one. They got to go on the road. Now, they did play Missouri, and they beat up Missouri in that one. Texas Tech coming off a 67-61 road loss against TCU. The Red Raiders, a perfect 8-0 at home. Texas Tech has covered 2 of the last 3, and they did beat Kansas once at home last year, 75-67. But Kansas, Texas Tech was getting 7.5, 7 points in those games. 2.5 they got at Kansas, and now they're getting 1.5 here. 1 point now as home dogs at home here. Tough game. It really is. I was thinking I'd be on Texas Tech here, and I lean that way still, but everybody's bet them already. And I find that this game is going to be down to the wire. I could see Kansas slipping out of here with the victory. I still think Kansas is a little better than Texas Tech talent-wise, too. I definitely think that. And I just don't know if I can bet it now, +1. So probably off the game. What do you think, Conor?
This one, it's just, you mentioned, like you said, Kansas the better team, but then you got to go here, Texas Tech at home. You got to put that, one of the best home courts, one of the top ones, the top 10, I'd say, in the country. I need to see more and more scoring from Texas Tech. They beat up on a lot of bad teams. This total's moved up. I disagree with it. They played a bunch of cupcakes. Now we're in conference. If they want to win this game, they need to clamp down on Kansas. I don't know if I get there. I was looking at first half under or even full game. It's gone up a little bit to 141. Tough one for me. So I think I'm just going to watch this one, or I might be on the under. I'm still thinking about it.
The good news is that Texas Tech slows things down, and Kansas's offense bogs down a lot more in the half court. So again, matchup-wise and spot-wise, I like this for Texas Tech. I just don't love that the number's down to 1. I just don't love the lack of value you're getting with the Red Raiders here. Yeah,
and just first real true road game? They play Missouri on the road. They've had tough, tough schedule at Kansas. So I guess you could look at that. Difficult one here. If you think Kansas just is better, take them.
Oh yeah, I still lean Texas.
I mean, they just got to win.
Yeah, I do, absolutely do. And look, we just saw Kansas escape. They finally had a little bit of a mediocre, subpar performance against Oklahoma State, and I think they're going to have their hands full tonight with Texas Tech. Final game for the marquee matchups. This is the only late night game on the slate tonight. It's out in the Mountain West, New Mexico, Fresno State. New Mexico 4-point road favorites, 136.5 being the total in this game. Fresno. This New Mexico team, 14-0 now. They did beat Wyoming 76-75 on the weekend, but they did not cover. They were 2-point road favorites in that one. But we'll see if they can keep it going here. They did have that win against St. Mary's on the road. I feel they're a decent notch or two better than Fresno State. Although if you look at head-to-head, Fresno has actually beaten New Mexico State 6 straight times. And sometimes it's just a matter of we just cannot figure out one particular opponent. And this has been one of those weird instances where Fresno's just owned this series. They've won 6 in a row against New Mexico. Fresno's coming off a 67-54 road loss to Utah State. They did beat Wyoming at home 58-53 in their only previous Mountain West Conference home game. This looks like potentially, this clash of thought process for me.
Exactly.
I think New Mexico is better this year. Certainly chomping at the bit, you would think, to finally beat Fresno. But Fresno's owned this series, and they're catching points at home. And they were actually very good against Wyoming, their only previous home game in Mountain West play. So real tough game. I like from a side perspective, I like the total more. I think the game goes over. I think it's low enough with this total it can go. I know Fresno's been trending under, but New Mexico's been going the other way and over the total. And you look at these two teams head to head last year in Fresno, we got 139 points between these two teams. 2 of the last 3 meetings have gone over the total as well. I just think 137 could be a little bit light here, and light enough we can get the game to go up and over. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Who's going to dictate it? I mean, look at, New Mexico, top 25 in all these offensive categories. And then the flip side, Fresno can't score. That's just the problem. But you mentioned they've owned them in the past. But I do think this is the best New Mexico team, in 4 or 5 years. They can really score it. So I want the under, though, if I were on the total. I think I'm going to be off this game in the end. I've seen enough of Fresno where they can't score. Can they play big? You mentioned that game. That was their best game against Wyoming. But Wyoming, we got to wait for EK to get back and to start even thinking about that team. So yeah, I'm off. I want to take Fresno. I need more points with that shitty offense. I mean, look at their offense.
Yeah.
It's so bad in every category. It's tough. So tough game there, late night.
Yeah. Again, they got to 139 last year at Fresno in the game between these two teams, and 139 will get there with the over tonight. So that's I think just based on where the number is, I took a shot with the over. So again, but there is concerns. We're talking about a nails on a chalkboard offense for the Bulldogs. Sometimes we know that 300s they're ranking in a lot of different offensive categories. All right, that's the marquee games. We had a lot of marquee games on the card today because there's just so many, high major, bigger power conference teams playing tonight. So there was a longer mark. So we really don't have much. And you know what? We've cleaned up most of the card, honestly. There's not a whole lot of game. We haven't left a lot of meat on the bone for Q&A and games that we haven't talked about. There's not many. So Conor, Mack, is there anything? I mean, we've covered like at least 80% of the games here so far on the show. Anything from the games we have not discussed that you like?
And I like this game a little bit. Ball State Toledo. I think get over. Obviously, Toledo. This team can score 90. But
Totally
they
agree.
are better at home. They could win this game by 15. But when they play defense like they do, I think Ball State is in this one. I've been impressed a little bit how this team's played all year. I think it gets up and down. So I lean over, and I kind of lean the points. It's coming down. I even see a couple 8s circa. So I lean Ball State. I might have a small bet with them. Yeah, that's about it. I think that's our only game. Right?
Yeah, I think Ball State could get there, and I like the over in that game for sure. I've already bet the over. So that was one of the games I was going to mention. I like over with Ball State. Toledo. I lean Ball State. I haven't bet it, may not, but I like the over for sure with Ball State and Toledo. Toledo's just an over machine. There's no question about that. I kind of like Miami, Ohio getting 2 at Central Michigan as well. I don't trust the Chippewas laying points, even at home in that game. So I'd lean a little to Miami. I have a small bet on them. Yep, I have a small bet on them in that game.
I don't mind that either. Real quick, great free throw shooting team, Miami, Ohio. I think they can win outright.
Yep, I like that. +2. Yeah, against Miami in that one. Northern Illinois, Akron's a pass. Might as well just hit the rest of the games that we have. In Western Michigan, Kent State for me is a pass, so I don't really have much there. Same with San Jose, Boise. I'm not really involved in that one too much. Utah State and Air Force. That's the only other one that we haven't talked about. I like Air Force. I like them. They're always stingy sometimes in this home dog role. Utah State has struggled here, especially at Air Force last year. Well, they really had a tough time here at Air Force, and Air Force they're not still great offensively, but they got at least a little bit better backcourt than they've had in the past. They play pretty good, solid defense more often than not, the Falcons. And I think Air Force can hang in that game, getting 7.5, 8 as a home dog there. So that's the only other one. It was really Ball State, Toledo over, Miami, Ohio +2, and Air Force plus the points. It's the only other games I liked.
Real quick, I just don't want to lay points with Boise in the offense. They are better at home. And San Jose, I don't know what to make of this team's played some solid basketball, but now road game here. Can they cover the 10? I don't know. It's in the end I'll be off, but should be a good one. I'll be watching that one. Boise.
That's
San
and
Jose.
Keith is right about the spot too. We talked about Miami O Central. Yeah, it's not just I think Miami O is a good enough team to win that game. It's also Central flat spot letdown potential after the huge
Oh,
upset
after the
against
win.
Michigan.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. It's another reason I'll kind of think Miami could be the side there. Miami O plus the points. Yeah, I'm passing on Northern Illinois, Akron. I think I lean under actually with Northern Illinois and Akron. Akron's offense has been really weird this year. So that one might be a little bit lower scoring. I'd lean under the total.
I lean under there.
Yeah, I'd lean under in that one as well. But I didn't end up making a bet. Yeah, the Texas game and what's the ECU game? You're talking about East Carolina? What do you mean ECU? ECU's not playing tonight. Who do you mean there? ECU?
Eastern Michigan? The Bowling
Eastern
Green?
Michigan, you mean? Bowling, yeah. The over I like in that game. We didn't talk about that. Yeah, Bowling Green East. Oh, I like the over in that game. Bowling Green and Eastern Michigan. There you go. Yeah, EMU you meant. Okay, EMU. Yeah. Yeah, I like the over. I think there's a lot of points in that game.
There should be a ton of points. I think Eastern Michigan can. I don't want to lay points though. Even the 2.5 with them, they probably win, but I don't want to do it.
Yeah, there you go. Eastern Michigan. There we go. Yeah, there you go. It's just a typo. No problem. All right, there you go. All right, we got best bets coming up. Hit the like button, 179 live viewers. We'll wrap the show up with best bets right after we hear from Manscaped and Southtown 101. All right, Southtown 101. When you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke, and manscaped.com. 20% off and free shipping with promo code PubSports. All right, best bets to wrap it up. First best bet segment of the week. Conor, Mack, what do you like for best bet?
I took the over. I still think it's good. Marquette St. John's. I know it's up to 158.5. I got the 156.5, but I still think it gets over. And I'll throw one more. LSU. Give me the 10.5. They cover against Kentucky tonight.
All right, there we go. There we go. Best bets there for Conor, Mack there for this Tuesday. My best bet here for Tuesday on the slate. It's been a good – last week was pretty good with the best bets. We'll see if we can keep them going here tonight. Tough decision. There's a bunch that – you know what? I'm going to go back to them here tonight. I feel good about it. There are some 6.5s out there, so shop around. Pitt Panthers, going back to our old reliable Pitt Panthers. Don't let me down tonight. You've been just a gold mine for me. Hopefully it keeps going tonight. I think they give Virginia a game, and that's all that's required to cover the number. Pittsburgh plus 6.5 against Virginia. The Panthers, Pitt Panthers plus 6.5 for my best bet here for this Tuesday.
Real quick, I want to hit up Daryl. Last dollar, I wouldn't bet either of those games we talked about. If I had to, I'd lay with Alabama. But I know you like Nebraska, the other one. But I'm not bet both those games.
Yeah, it's a road dog night, and plus the home dog there, Pittsburgh. So a lot of dogs on the card tonight. Hopefully dogs are barking. All right, that's a wrap. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. And we'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific with another edition of College Basketball Net Profit. And by the way, a big announcement, special Wednesday night, live college football pub hub coming up. 8 p.m. Eastern Wednesday night. It'll be me, Conor, Big Ragu, DJ, Big Boss, the usual college football pub hub crew reuniting tomorrow night to break down TCU, Georgia, the national championship game, side, props. Total, player props. We'll hit it all, every angle you can think of for the big game on Wednesday night. So looking forward to that for sure. to get you ready for the big national title game. For Conor, Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Wednesday for another edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show right here on Pub Sports Radio.